Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and finally some good news here in the Call of Duty League. The 12th team, which has been a major question mark these last couple of weeks, seems to be coming into the league in Boston. Many questions as to who they might pick up, and as to even whether this will get confirmed. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button is the best thing you can do to help this channel reach new people. And please consider subscribing as well if you have not yet already. Not too far away from 75,000 subscribers. That's 3/4 of the way to the 100k. Just love to see it. Firstly, wanted to mention this from the Sentinels front, because yesterday we talked about all that drama that was going on in the Halo scene, and the fact that Formal was getting picked up to Sentinels, and indeed now is confirmed. So HCS Riley, I'm going to call it Riley, because I think that makes more sense than Riley personally. He's going to be going to this event with the Sentinels squad, the rest of the team over there, and well, it's going to be exciting to keep your eyes on how this one develops, because he might even match up against the OpTic Halo team at some point or another, given that you would imagine Sentinels, after fighting their way through the open bracket, are still going to be quite the force at this event, no doubt. I'm not sure that's going to be too much of a problem for them really making it through the open side of things. This also I wanted to say, if you guys follow Formula 1 racing at all, I'm still trying to comprehend that race for the weekend, to be honest. But you'll know Lando Norris, who has now started an esports organisation called Quadrant, and yesterday they announced, okay, Quadrant are going into Halo. Loads of organisations going down a similar route here as of late, and also going to down, like Quadrant CDL, is that going to be a thing? But it's pretty much what I expected from the CDL front here. The fact that it's one of these organisations that's involved in the Overwatch League. They're trying to make their expansion into the CDL as well, but as Lando says, esports baby, so who knows down the line if the CDL becomes increasingly attractive to people who maybe are not endemic to the space, then maybe they can come in and have a decent go at things, right? So I thought this is cool to see the expansion into Halo from Lando's organisation. Maybe something similar will happen here in the future of Call of Duty if things start moving quickly in the right direction. However, this is according to sources from the Esports Observer and Kevin Hit yesterday. According to sources, Patriot owner Robert Kraft and Kraft Sports Group are set to acquire a spot in the Call of Duty League. They'll partner with Oxygen Esports to operate the CDL team and Kraft Sports Overwatch League team, the Boston Uprising, out of Boston effectively. So yes, the New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft looking to expand into the Call of Duty world. This is the article. It's a very brief one. It just says, yeah, they're set to acquire this spot from, of course, Team Envy, because it's been a kind of a chaotic situation really that's been going on there. The fact that the merger goes through with OpTic and Envy. OpTic now kind of under that Envy header. NRG, for whatever reason, they like to sell the spot onto Envy as well. I think NRG probably had some clause where they could just get out of the situation. They sell that spot onto Envy as well. So Envy currently has 2 CDL spots on it. So it's got OpTic Texas. It's also got another one that it can sell on elsewhere. Now, of course, that doesn't put it in the best bargaining position, given the fact that it has to sell the spot effectively going into the new year, and maybe they've come up to a really reasonable relationship here with Boston and whatever that's going to be called going forwards. So yes, according to Kevin, Boston is going to be a CDL squad for next year. That's to me, it's pretty exciting, to be honest. First of all, it seems kind of strange, really, the fact that we're celebrating the fact that there are going to be 12 teams in the CDL. Don't necessarily want to get ahead of myself too much, because in fairness, we thought this was going to happen with Washington, right? That that we're going to get the 12th CDL team being the Washington Demon Cats or whatever, and then that falls through. Now, is this going to happen with Boston? Hopefully that's not the case. I believe this has been in conversations for quite some time now, so I think this will go through and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Hastro certainly seemed confident as well that this was going to be happening. So with any luck, this will get confirmed. We don't have to worry about it anymore, and we do at least have 12 teams in the CDL. Now, as I say, it feels kind of strange to be celebrating that, right? Given the fact that this should be a given that we have 12 teams at least in the league. But 11 teams would have been an absolute nightmare to deal with. So, I'm happy if we do get the full 12 teams in the league. Of course, the positive thing is with Boston. Now, I'm not sure how exactly they run their Overwatch League team and kind of their organizations in general. I think they don't like to splash extraordinary amounts of cash, but they at least will have some degree of significant monetary backing behind them that they can actually use to make some sort of moves, right? I imagine it's not going to be a Paris Legion situation where they're paying all the players on the minimum salaries. You would imagine they can actually attempt to make some sort of moves here, and there's going to be some good rivalries, New York versus Boston, this type of stuff, if of course it does go through. So that is of course one side of the story, but of course there are many other questions to be answered on this front. One of which, of course, being who's actually going to be on this organization, right? Methodz was heavily linked to that Washington spot initially, and well, obviously that fell through, and now they find themselves in an interesting position, really. Do this new spot in Boston. Okay, do they bring on a general manager? Do they decide to just straight up pick up a challengers team that's right now competing in the amateur side and go with that squad of 4? Or would they prefer to actually get a GM in and pick and choose some players from elsewhere to try and build a team that's going to be better than one of those kind of preset challengers rosters in a sense? Methodz, of course, was someone heavily linked to the Washington spot. You would imagine that he gets picked up here as well, you would think, because, just personality-wise, it makes a lot of sense to go down the Methodz route. Also, certainly one of the best main assault rifles outside of the league at the present time. So Methodz, of course, are going to be a good option, but there are other good options on the table. I wanted to share a clip from the fight that came out last night, which aligns with what RJ says, the coach of the Atlanta FaZe, only, or at least the assistant coach or whatever exactly it is, like, because Crowd is technically the head coach, but only team that deserves the 12th spot is Classic, Shawnee, Assault, and Exceed. That was the team that won the most recent Challenger Cup. They reckon, according to Aches and Enable, as we'll see here in a second, I think even J-Cap says it in the chat, actually, that he heard this as well, that this team believes they are much better than Methodz squad, which also is in contention.
I mean, who knows? They could already be locked in. I'm just saying it's always next man up mentality. So if you sit on the sidelines and someone else proves their worth, it could be over.
I just don't think if
you don't know
team is the front runner, I don't think a cash cup that Nicky D's team dominates is gonna sway. Personally, I don't think that. If
maybe with
almost all but locked in, and Zinni's team is hypothetically the front runner for that team, I don't think Nicky D's team coming in and dominating the cash specific cup.
Well, Nick said his team's by far better than Zinni's team too.
That may be
like
true.
They're saying that they deserve the spot.
But you would also say last year that Challenger team's better than pro teams anyway. So that I think that argument.
I mean, here's the thing. Hold on. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not even trying to like throw shade, but like we have a double East Coast and a double West Coast split playing on either quad host or a Texas host in every single series. So there are at least 1 to 2 people pinging 10.
Can you update us on where Nicky D's team is located then, just so we're aware?
I don't know. Assault's in Texas. I mean, that's not the point. All I'm saying is our split is absolutely terrible, and we're always at a disadvantage. So, I mean...
So that's the thing. Will this team just come through and say, okay, we're going to pick up a Challenger squad, either Classics team or Methodz team or whatever the case might be? Or will they actually decide, okay, we've got a few weeks here to figure this out. Let's get a GM in, let's make some decent decisions and pick and choose some players from different situations to try and make a good squad. Because, of course, look, the fact of the matter is they're not going to make a team that's going to be competing for championships based on the leftovers on the table this year. But if they can pick up a couple of pieces that could be good for future seasons, maybe that's going to help them. Of course, you also could consider that, well, the name value of some of these players. This is what Doug Center Martin says. Hello, Mr. Craft. My name is Douglas Taylor Martin. We all thought his middle name was Censor, but I guess he actually has a real middle name. And I'll be the best decision your organization will ever make. Kind of echoing that the Tom Brady thing that he said to Robert Kraft as well. Now, look, Doug Center Martin certainly having a good time on this front. Now, look, could Censor be an option? Of course, he's always going to throw his hat in the ring in these types of situations. Who could possibly blame him? But, it's not out of the question that, Kraft and Co., I imagine Kraft's not going to be making these decisions, but, whoever's actually running the thing says, okay, look, at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to build a team that's going to be incredibly competitive this year anyway, given the fact that all the other good players have been snapped up already and already contracted, then, okay, maybe Censor actually could be a reasonable option in this situation, for the branding front, but also potentially as at least a respectable, solid player within the team. As the flank says, Vouch, Censor is the Tom Brady of gods. He, of course, also beat Scump in that tournament relatively recently to, very entertaining effect. I'm sure Censor isn't going to be letting that one go for another several years at this point. Also, Crimsix even vouches for it, right? The only thing that will save Call of Duty is if Doug Center Martin gets a spot on the 12th league team. So, we shall see on this front. That's the thing. In theory, you could pick up Methodz as your main AR. You could pick up maybe some of the guys from the Classic squad, right? If you wanted to have Doug Center Martin as one of your SMGs, and then how things go from there. I'm not sure I would necessarily want to pick up the entirety of Zinni's roster right now, like the Methodz, Porlex, Venom, and TJ Halley squads, because I just think some of those players, they might not have the firepower to really get it done. Now, I'm not saying Censor necessarily does bring the firepower you need, but he does bring some other things to the table, right, in terms of impressions and this type of stuff. This I thought was good from Censor as well. If I could randomly tweet a supermodel and lock in a long distance relationship for 3 years, which is basically how he started talking to Yannick Garcia. We just DM'd her and flew to Mexico. I'm sure as hell I could do exactly the same thing for a league spot. Hey, even if I don't get the spot, I'll get my shot regardless at some point or another. And he goes on to say right here in the replies, 664,000 impressions in just a few hours. You gotta think that'd be great exposure to have that in the Call of Duty League, right? So yeah, Kraft, hopefully you are listening. Doug Center Martin is the man to pick up for your team. But of course, that's the thing. Are they going to pick up just a straight up squad? Also, there's a question mark. What is their team actually going to be called? This I thought was funny from Crane. He was looking at some trademarks for the last few weeks, so I imagine he's heard about this Boston thing before maybe the rest of us have. And well, he found this kind of interesting thing put up right here. I don't imagine that's going to be what it's called, but I suppose we shall see. This I thought was interesting actually from Connor in the replies, it's going to be something Revolution related. Everything Craft has is like, you know, Patriots, Revs, the Uprising, or whatever the case. Like, this is, I guess, the Overwatch League stuff as well. So maybe something along those lines. We shall see. I guess they'll figure something out sooner rather than later on this front, if and when it is indeed confirmed and they get everything set in stone. Because, of course, you know, it's middle of December now. We imagine the kickoff event for the CDL is going to be middle of January sometime. So they don't have all that long, really, to lock things in and get a squad confirmed for the upcoming season. This also, of course, this is kind of the rumored team. We've thought, of course, maybe that Methodz team of Venom, Paulex, and TJ would be one of the squads to get picked up. They were playing a scrim last night up against the New York Subliners. They won, I believe, this first map, and after that, they lost all the other 7. But it's still a pretty solid squad. Could be a potential target. But if I was Boston, I would maybe think about picking up, you know, some players and poaching some guys from different teams here to kind of get the best of both worlds and try and get a couple of players in there that actually could be talents for future seasons to build around as well, when you actually do get the proper opportunity to compete in some of these roster mania periods, when some players are actually on the table, you'd imagine next year, or maybe even during the middle of the season. We will see how willing they are to splash the cash, and maybe they'll actually make a great force here in the CDL. So exciting stuff, no doubt. Definitely intrigued to hear your perspective all on this down in the comment section below. This also just wanted to finish off really from COD Gamepedia. The CDL has all the backing and resources it needs to be insanely successful. Just a shame we're not seeing competitive support from the games being made by Activision. Upper levels of management also seem to be super stubborn about operating ideas, but no confirmation on that fact, as Charlie Intel says, seems to be a much wider issue than just management in general. But with all these guys investing and all the investment coming in, and the fact that the franchise league has been set up in the first place, the Call of Duty League in theory should be in a great spot. Just some more focus on it, I suppose, from the Activision side on actual competitive Call of Duty itself could go a long way. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting the like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video, and I was like, you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.